Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. I'm Ralph,
I'm James.
and today we are discussing the Duel of the Fates music video that
Yeah.
premiered on Total Request Live on MTV.
Was
And
this
we're
was
not,
this Carson Daily? Was this still Carson Daily, or was this
I
pre?
don't
Or
know. I
yeah,
don't
me neither.
remember. I
No.
remember there's a big lead up and I taped it. I don't know where that tape is. Anyway, we're
Anyway.
not doing it alone.
Oh.
Joining us from Star Wars Music Minute is host Chrysanthe Tan. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome,
Hi.
Hi.
Chrysanthe. Nice to see
Hello.
you.
Nice to see you too.
Okay, I'm excited to talk about this. Because this is sort of launching us into our our Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
Yeah.
Like this is like other than the trailers, this is like the very beginning of Ewan McGregor's, sort of turn as Obi-Wan. This is pre-Phantom Menace.
Yeah, this is
And
like he's still most famous for train spotting at this point. Like,
right.
yeah.
It's an oddity. Xanthe, you said that you didn't know about this when I brought it up
Correct.
on your show.
Yeah, I didn't know about the music video, and I also didn't know Ewan McGregor until this movie.
Oh, okay.
See, I think I've got a brother who's 9 years older than me. I think, and being British as well, I think I was exposed to him a little bit earlier. Like there was train spotting was around. I remember that the poster was up on, I think, my brother's bedroom wall. Maybe I had it on my bedroom wall, despite not seeing it yet. But yeah, I was aware of who he was when he was cast. And it's funny because even to this day, yeah, Velvet Goldmine. There was a Blast Off as well. Was a movie that I remember. Again, loads of music stuff back in his early career. It's really interesting.
This is strange because I grew up a Star Wars fan, and I grew up a film score fan, and never in my entire life had I ever seen a music video dedicated to a music cue from film. And
it was, I mean, even watching it again today, I probably haven't seen it since 99. I remember it coming out. We didn't have TRL back in the day, but we had MTV, and like they showed it. They made a big deal of showing it. But I was at that point, I was eating up every last little bit of episode 1 content that I could find. But yeah, watching it again today, it is weird because it's not strictly a music video.
There's dialogue.
There's dialogue. It depends on how you define a music video, I guess. Because right?
I mean, I suppose it's as much of a music video as like November Rain or something, where they're like there's sound effects, there's like things in that are sort of, I don't know, they're diegetic sounds as opposed to just the music.
Right. It's difficult because, I mean, if you watch Thriller, probably the most famous music video, it starts off with dialogue, goes into the song, but if I'm not mistaken, there's some dialogue that sneaks in.
Yeah.
And I definitely know, like, the Huey Lewis music video. Oh man, I'm trying to think of the name.
Not Power of Love?
This is love. No. Please let me know. I gotta know. If this ain't love, you better let me. If this is it. Anyway, there's definitely dialogue in that music video, because when I hear the song and he says something about him calling and saying, "I'm not home," you can hear the daughter on the phone saying he's not here. So
is that on the track? Is that on the track as well? Or is that just in the video? It's just in the video.
No, it's just in the video, but I remember it so well. When I listen to the track, I think of that line in my head.
I mean, it's still happening today. Like, and more recent time. I mean, I say today, it was 10 years ago. There's a few of the videos from Because the Internet, for Childish Gambino album, that it sort of breaks away from music video to almost like short film in the middle of the music video and then comes back in. So
yeah, I think that's not necessarily common, but it definitely happens a lot. Like Lady Gaga does it a lot.
Sure.
And just either adding, like, whether it's adding text or not text, dialogue, or like putting clear breaks Like sometimes there's pauses, and like you said, James, like to just let action play out like a short film.
It is, and I
That
mean,
is like a
I don't know. I know that Taylor Swift like re-released like her album, or is re-releasing all of her stuff. Like there was a 10-minute version or something of one of those tracks, and so it wouldn't surprise me if there's a video for that where it's essentially that is at that point a short film that just happens to be basically a musical because it's got a backing track throughout most of it.
All right.
So
yeah.
this is sort of somewhere in between, isn't it? It's the score is playing throughout,
Mhm.
but then we're also getting what you'd expect in more of like a trailer where there's clips and it's all out of sequence. It's mixed with behind the scenes stuff as well.
It
This
does feel
feels like
kind of
some
a trailer.
yeah, or something that would play at the beginning of a panel at Celebration.
Yeah, for sure, a sizzle reel type thing.
I can see that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, when this came out in 19 I should have looked it up more, but I didn't. I think it came out in 98, in later
Really?
98.
Before
Maybe
the
I'm
film?
not. No, it came out. It definitely came out before the film. This was part of
What?
this was part of the hype train. Yeah, this was huge. This was
They released
Xanthi.
so much stuff pre.
Oh my god!
This was the first new Star Wars music that you were able to hear since essentially Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
and
at least like John Williams
this was like a big premiere, and I was so excited to hear new Star Wars music for the first time in
at that point 17 years, I think.
17 years.
Yeah.
It was a huge deal. Like this was essentially the single. It was the music single for the movie.
I'm so glad that I didn't know about it. All right. I would have I can't imagine that being spoiled.
There's so much. I mean, you think you talk about the trailers and stuff. Like with hindsight, you can go back and watch those trailers and go, man, wouldn't it have been cool if they didn't reveal Darth Maul's lightsaber? But like, it's all there. There's so much. But again, watching this now and knowing how the film plays out is so different to watching it in. I mean, I think it was early 99. I can't imagine it was 98.
I was having conflicting things. I did see that it was on the TLR, the Total Request Live charts for 11 weeks.
Wow.
So
they were playing it constantly then. Like it wasn't just like a one-day event where they played it a few times. It was repeated.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and Total Request Live, I believe, was a daily show. I believe it was Monday through Friday.
I think so, yeah. From what I understand of it, yeah, definitely.
So 11 weeks straight, people were requesting to watch this every day.
I mean, that's just the power of Star Wars at that time.
Yeah. It was huge. Yeah. 99 was huge. And can I just say something right now? I didn't like it.
Really?
At the time, I had waited 17 years to hear new Star Wars music, and it didn't sound like traditional Star Wars music.
It is different. It is definitely
now I love it. I've seen it in the context of the film. I understand what, like, the John Williams sound in 99 is way different than it was back in the early 80s, late 70s. And I felt like his music in the Phantom Menace score was a better representation of the galaxy before the Empire.
Yeah.
It was less military to me. But when this was like the first Star Wars thing that was out there in the public before Phantom Menace, I was like, it didn't sound like Star Wars.
I don't remember how I felt about it at the time. I don't think I was as psyched about the song until after the movie. But I mean, I'm also on record as now preferring, was it Duel of the Hero or Battle of the Heroes to Duel of the Fates?
Yeah, I do as well.
That's interesting, and I think it is context for how they play in their respective like fights that they are most featured in. But I do prefer that track to this one. But this one, I mean, it's iconic. That opening as well.
Well, John Williams did write this to be an end credit suite, not to be necessarily part of the score. So
Right.
it definitely like plays more like a, like a song, like it plays more
It's
like a complete,
yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely feels like a suite, like a concert suite.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
that's what it was intended to be.
Yeah.
But George Lucas wanted it for more.
Loved it and wanted to use it
Yeah.
every opportunity. I feel
But
like I don't know how accurate some of the behind the scenes stuff is of. I mean, we see John Williams conducting, we see the London Symphony Orchestra.
what do you mean by
Um,
accurate?
So we also see shots of George in what looks like a sound booth, or it could be an editing booth. I don't know if that is exactly him watching John compose, or if that is them just seeing, getting a reaction shot of George Lucas being really happy, and then sort of splicing that into this for the context of him being happy with the music.
I think that's
Yeah.
accurate. It's he's
I
in the
mean, it
he's
feels
in the
it.
recording booth. It's not it's not composing. It's just the recording day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was a
Absolutely.
recording booth or an editing suite, or it definitely. I mean, you could see the desk in front of him.
Yeah.
But I mean, just seeing that, you see the glee on his face, and Ewan's right there next to him as well, which I thought was great. They both look so happy with what's going on that it's not a surprise that he wanted to use this throughout.
Totally.
I think George Lucas has gone on record as to saying it's his favorite part of the process is watching John Williams work. It's the one thing he has like no control over. And he doesn't want control over it. He just wants to see John Williams do his thing. And I mean, after you've been working on this movie for so long with temp tracks and whatever, nothing's going to stack up to what you get listening to it live during the recording session. And all the pressure is off him. The film is done. I mean, he might go back and add some sparks to Jango Fett's backpack, but it's for the most part, he can sit back, relax, and enjoy this music. And he gets to hear the Star Wars music before anybody else does. And so, I mean, every time you see anybody sitting in the recording booth for one of these Star Wars film scores that are done by John Williams, actors come by to check it out. The booth is filled with people
celebrities over there sometimes.
Definitely.
Yeah,
They
and they're
always
all
look
just
gleeful.
smiling.
Yeah, that's it.
So
and it's great to see. And again, as you were saying, like George has been sitting with this for at that point years, and the finished film for that point is there. It's being projected up on screen.
Yeah.
So he's getting that thing that, I mean, I paid £60 to see Empire Strikes Back a couple of months ago with a live orchestra, and he's getting that like there for the first time. It is amazing, and it'd be very, very cool.
It's Duel of the Fates, like in Star Wars, represents it sounds new for so many reasons, like the most obvious being the use of choral arrangement, like the use of the choir, and that's because John Williams wanted to evoke like a religious ritual type of feeling.
Okay.
And it really is like such a bold statement. And since then, I mean, I actually think like the Phantom Menace score uses choir in a few places, like it uses it like Swimming to Oda Ganga. And now it's so ubiquitous in scores. And even in Star Wars, like even in the shows and everything, it's kind of hard to imagine a time before it. And yet, like if you go back to the original trilogy, there's not very much singing except for the Emperor, like
the Emperor's theme, and then there's a little bit going into
like
Cloud
the Ewok
City.
Stuff. Oh, okay.
Of course. Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Because I mean, I don't have the ear for it, obviously, but I wouldn't know that unless you point it out. But thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, no, I can't, other than the Emperor being the big one, like that we all know. But other than that, I couldn't have pulled either of the other two that you guys mentioned. Yeah, that's really interesting.
And then of course Battle of the Heroes has it too.
Exactly. And then like I feel like it's, as you say, it's used quite often now. But it's also used at the right time. I think it's not it's not in everything. And especially going from like say like the Emperor's theme to Duel of the Fates and then Battle of the Heroes and things like that, it always sort of almost has that religious Sith sort of feel to it. It is always well, not always, but it's more often connected to that sort of religious zealotry that they have. And then again, we see me and Ralph are both big fans of Rise of Skywalker, but to see essentially what looks like a choir in the Emperor's room there, it's at the end, it's like it's almost like they're the choir singing Duel of the Fates. It's interesting.
Yeah. And then of course you have the Book of Boba Fett chanting in that. Oh, and that was Xanthe's covering Solo right now, and you're about to get to episodes covering Memphis Ness, which John Powell uses.
Yeah.
Oh, we talk. Yep, that episode comes out on Friday. Yeah,
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really good. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that bit of music, and it's. I mean, I really enjoy the score for Solo in general. I think it's a good one.
I discussed 5 minutes of Solo with Xanthe last week on last Friday's show. I got to discuss the shower scene a little bit, and I got to discuss the Imperial theme from 77 a little bit. My second favorite. There's one thing that I didn't bring up, and I forgot to mention it, and I don't know if I should bring it up now because we're not talking about Solo, but
can you relate it in some way to Duel of the Fates?
I could try.
Okay.
6 degrees of Duel of the Fates.
As I originally mentioned, I didn't care much for the Duel of Fates music, but now in context, I like it very much.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I do not like the music during the Kessel run.
Yes.
And I don't think that's ever going to change.
That came up in our very first episode when we talked about Solo.
Did I talk about the music in Kessel run? Okay.
Yeah, because I enjoyed it. But you and describing why you don't like it did make me give it a little bit of pause and go, huh. But I don't know. It still hits.
After my conversation on Star Wars Music Minute,
yep.
I went to work and I listened to the Solo soundtrack, the deluxe version that has like every track, and it has the low voice version of Turkey in the Pot, which the soundtrack.
Do you mean chicken
in the pot?
Okay,
chicken in the pot. The original soundtrack version had the high pitch version of Chicken in the Pot. Anyway, it got to the Kessel run, and it does not sound good on its own. It's really heavily edited, and I don't think it's edited well. And I'm pretty sure they just pulled cues. Are you, Xanthe? You're not up to that point yet. Have you listened? Are you?
Yeah, let's not spoil. Let's not spoil future minutes.
Yeah, seriously. I am not at that point yet. I have heard it, but you know this, Ralph. In general, I am not a soundtrack fan. I don't listen to soundtracks really. I like to hear them in the movie. So in general, pretty much most soundtracks I feel kind of fall a little bit flat when just listening to soundtracks.
I'm the same. Like there's a few exceptions. There's 1 or 2 exceptions, but yeah, in general, I'm the same. Like Ralph posts all of his soundtrack vinyls that he gets, but I can't do it.
And I think it's like I think it's interesting that there's different types of listeners, obviously. Yeah. And for me, I think what it is like I love the art of film. I'm very picky about like. I guess I'm kind of picky about movies in a way, or like the music really influences how I feel about a film, and the film really influences how I feel about the movie. So it's like hard for me to like the music of a film if I don't like the movie, and vice versa. So it's like very uncommon for me to just like listen to a soundtrack on repeat for a film that I didn't like.
I get that.
And I never walk away from a film. Pretty much never walk away from a film being like, that was a crap film, but the music was really good. Like to me, that doesn't happen. To me,
they are ubiquitous.
To me, it's all so tied together. And I'm as someone who's like, I'm, pretty well versed in like classical music. And so if a lot of the times, like when my friends talk about their love of film scores and the feelings that they get out of it and what it does for them, it seems to me like that's the feeling that I might get from listening to a symphony that I love. So it might be that we are chasing a similar thing, but I don't ultimately get that from just a soundtrack on its own usually. Whereas I will get that from like a symphony on its own because it just there's not I'm not missing anything. I'm not missing any context by just listening to the audio, really. So I think that's like where sometimes when I'm listening to soundtracks, I feel like, okay, this is the kind of boring underscore part because there's something on screen that's really interesting. And so I have to like leave space in my head sometimes for missing some context.
I think that's why, yeah, for me, it really has to be something on the level of Star Wars, where I can listen to Star Wars and I can see it in my head. Like for those downtime bits of the score that might not be the best and anything particularly interesting, I can see it, and I can see it in the context of the movie because I know the film inside and out, sort of thing, that way. But yeah, most things, even if I really enjoy it while watching the film, I'm not gonna just put it on while I'm walking around or something.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of film score soundtracks to movies I haven't seen just because I like the artist. And some of my favorite scores, like, okay, so a couple days ago I decided I'm going to make a playlist on Apple Music. I don't know if it's available for everyone to listen to if you follow me on Apple Music, but I just titled it Ralph's Favorite Cues. And I took like just my favorite cues from my library. It's 230 tracks long. It's a 230 long track.
How do you know
playlist.
what the cues are? Or are you just talking about the soundtrack titles?
The soundtrack titles.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of times is I like any album, like rock album or pop album or whatever. I have my favorites. So when I see an album, I'm like, oh, there's one's called like Lost in Austria, and I go and I'm like, yep, there it is.
What makes it your favorite? What makes those things your favorites?
They're just ones that I like to play not repeatedly. I'm not sitting there listening to the same track over and over again, but they're things that I like. There's moments in each one that I just get joy out of. And they're not necessarily my absolute 100%. Like this is a definitive list of my favorite cues. These are just ones from all the albums that I tend to turn the volume up while I'm driving and enjoy. So, like, let's say I like I put in the train heist from Solo. You guys know why. It's because the 77 Imperial themes in it. Krennic's Aspirations on Rogue One soundtrack, because the 77 Imperial theme is in that one. But there's things like what is the TIE fighter attack in the original Star Wars? That's a real fun one. It's very lively and stuff. So it'll just be like, I'll just grab things where if it pops on, I know I won't skip it. And I listened to, while working yesterday, I listened to 92 tracks without skipping. So they're all just things that
very impressive.
Yeah, it's
Do you listen on shuffle?
I did. I put it on shuffle because the thing is, I would go through albums and I didn't want to listen to like 4 tracks from The Italian Job. I wanted it to be mixed up. By the way, I mentioned we were talking about John Powell.
I would need to listen to it in order.
I think that's interesting as well, because it's different, isn't it? Because you would get into a flow of a movie, or at least a particular composer's sound. So to have it on shuffle seem for that.
Like if I'm listening to a musical soundtrack, I want to hear the whole musical. And if I am listening to the album on repeat, like I still will want to hear like there was a few months ago, I was just like listened to Spring Awakening like 5 times in a row, but in order, not like skipping. Like the parts, even though I do have like favorites, like parts where I'm like, oh yeah, turn this one up. It it's like more
It's One
rewarding.
Piece.
It's more
Yeah.
it's more rewarding when I get to those parts if I also have gotten through other parts first, you know?
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
This is why
like
it
get my
took me.
dopamine levels down and then back up and then down, rather than like riding this high and then
It's
everything
like a
feels-
workout as opposed to just
This is like I'm pretty much the same way. I listen to albums, but this is why it took like 45 years for me to make this playlist, because I tend not to shuffle. But I do a lot of driving, and so I'm just like, you know what? Because I know with the Apple playlists, they can be made public.
Mm-hmm.
So my line of thinking was, maybe one of my friends will stumble across this playlist, listen to it, find a track that I curated, and be like, I want to know more about James Newton Howard. I want to know more about John Powell. Or you know what I mean? Or I want to listen to more of that album. So
I'm
it's
definitely
mostly
going to look up this playlist.
I don't know
hope
how
that
Apple, I don't have Apple Music, so I don't know how
I
that
can.
works, but
What I'll
I
do,
think it's like sharing a playlist on any of the services.
I'm
I'm
going
I'm
to.
definitely
But
going
the
to
thing is, there's stuff in my library that's not on Apple Music, so I don't think you get that.
No.
So what I'll do is I'll create, and I'll tweet this out, copy and paste. I'll copy and paste my playlist, and just post it up there. But yeah, it starts off with like 4 tracks from Valerian, because I love the Valerian soundtrack, and that's the first thing I thought of when I started creating this.
You're
Then it
the
goes
opposite.
alphabetical.
You're the opposite to both Xanthi and I, where you'll listen to soundtracks before you've even seen a film, and sometimes with no intention of seeing the film, and you'll also you can separate and enjoy a soundtrack even if you thought the movie was crap, right?
One of my. Are you saying something bad about Valerian?
I've not seen Valerian.
Okay. But no, there's the Avengers. There's a movie that came out in 1998 called The Avengers. It has nothing to do with Marvel.
Not the Marvel.
Yeah, Sean Connery, Uma Thurman, Ray Fiennes, to James Bond.
The old British Avengers, yeah.
I love the music from that movie. A movie that I almost walked out of.
Wow, okay.
So it's a bit, yeah, I am able to separate the music and from the film, but sometimes if it's a movie that I've seen 100 times, like Phantom Menace, then I listen to it and I associate it with the scenes.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's
interesting.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'm struggling over here. I don't have shade. I don't have shades yet. Sun's like in my eyes. I'm like, holy crap!
You just moved in.
I just moved, so everything is like.
I think it's a good
white
look.
background and the lights in my eye because I don't have a shade.
I honestly, I thought it was a constructed thing where you wanted like the stark white background.
Oh no, the lights like. I need more darkness in here.
It's a good look. It's like a half Padme on the.
That's funny. Oh, bringing it back to I have my core snippet on for one.
Oh, awesome.
And for two, this is when I saw Phantom Menace, like my brother and I were small, and my dad took it was our first introduction to any of these actors. And so like our parents, like my dad took us, and my dad from 1999 till this day, my dad swears that I look like Queen Amidala. And he said that from the time I was younger than Queen Amidala. Like, it's not like something where he thought I grew into. Well, to be fair, I think she was like 13, but in the first movie. But yeah, like just my dad swears like he sees some resemblance that I don't see, and pretty much no one else sees except for like a few random people. But I just think it's so funny, and I texted him like a few months ago just to be like, and I texted a picture. I said, "Do you remember this movie?" And he was like, "Yeah, you look like her." And I was like, "Still, you? Oh my god, okay.
That's awesome. That's lovely."
I don't see it. I don't see it, but I like it.
I don't know, but it's cool. It's those moments that like I don't know. It just takes one person seeing something. It's cool.
I asked him.
like
Yeah, I asked him why, and he said it's the structure. He said it's like the structure, overall structure of,
it.
and my dad doesn't
Fair.
think. Yeah. Anyway, I just think that's funny.
That's cool.
It's really funny. It could be. I mean, at least it's not like Sebulba or something like that. You know,
Wow.
that'd be horrible. Like Queen Amidala is like awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're gonna look like anyone in this film, then that's definitely yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rather him than Co Bibble.
Hey,
Her
hey,
than Co Bibble.
there's nothing.
I mean, all right. So in this music video, let's go back to the music video a little bit. They
Okay.
cut at one point. I mean, I'm sure we see pretty much all of Co Bibble's dialogue. And if you're only seeing this, and this is instead of watching a trailer, you just watch this music video, I feel like you think that Co Bibble is going to be a bigger character than he is. But there is one cut where you go from a close-up like webcam shot of John Williams conducting to
Yeah, that shot's weird.
yeah, it's a weird, like it's almost like they just put not GoPro, but
GoPro.
like an early version of a GoPro on his desk.
His podium.
Yeah. But you cut from that to the shot of the communications disruption can mean only one thing. And it's like, wait, hang on, split second. It was that John Williams as Co Bibble.
Oh.
There's a slight resemblance, I think.
That's pretty
And-
funny.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
We did eventually get John Williams in a Star Wars, but I think you know, if he was up for it, that would have been a good role for him.
I think so. He only had a couple lines.
Yeah, he could have done that.
Yeah. But I mean, even if you watch like the Rise of Skywalker documentary, John Williams had no interest in being in a Star Wars, but his wife kind of urged him to do it because
how
it's
many more opportunities are you gonna get?
Yeah.
It's good.
Let's see. I'm gonna go into the chat a little bit. Say hi to some folks.
Yeah, we haven't said hello to anyone yet.
Jeremy Kelly says, I love this music video. It's what made MTV cool. And then I think later he mentions, where did he say it? He said that he had a recording on tape too.
Yeah, I've got it here. There you go.
Spot it. Oh, there it is.
The premiere he had it recorded on MTV. So I watched two versions of it today. On YouTube, when you search for this, you can pull up one that has an introduction.
I saw that version.
That's when they're down in Times Square, right?
Right.
Is that the one?
And I think the host is like, "So you're a real geek, aren't you?" And she's like, "Yeah."
Was it Cindy or whoever it was that they're interviewing down on the street? She's better than him. Whoever that host is. This random college student that they pulled off the street, she's way better and more charismatic and does more crowd work than the host does.
Well, yeah, the host is just.
This
is all beneath him.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And he's like, okay, cool. So, you know, great. Go and enjoy your nerd movie, kids. But it was really good. And then I watched the high def version to actually sort of watch the whole thing. But I loved seeing that intro. And then you get the brilliant MTV title card of a brand new release from one of the world's most controversial stars that they obviously use for everyone. I'm like, John Williams, controversy, really?
Oh, did it say controversial?
I'm not. It might not have been controversial. Okay. It was something along those lines, though, of like shocking.
What's funny is that John Williams was controversial, like amongst like classical musicians.
Really?
Yeah. Now he's not as much.
Was he considered? Was it because he was considered maybe like pop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Film music in the classical world, film music. A lot of people consider film music like basically pop.
Wow, that's really interesting. Was that
that's the
at
thing?
This time, or was this back in sort of 70s?
Well, it's just starting. Like in the past, like 10 years, it's just starting to like. But still, even like, because I used to do like some host stuff at a classical radio station, and there were always like some listeners who would write into the station being upset when film music was played.
That's really interesting because we in the UK we've got Classical FM. It's one of like the default station. Yeah, Classic FM. Yeah. And I think at least once a week they'll have like film score night.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Film scores film scores are really popular. So like
yeah, that's
they have to
exactly.
do it.
And
But a lot of
it's
them
what it
don't
sort of
like to.
seems
A lot of them, I know that a lot of them don't like to do it.
it doesn't surprise me because you won't hear anything the rest of the time, and then it's like we'll put you on this corner from like 10 till midnight on a
It's sort of
Tuesday
like
night.
yeah, it's sort of like a lure, a way to lure people into like the classical
Yeah.
station.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's totally geared towards guys like me. And
absolutely.
it's strange because like I feel like I don't know, I really love film music and I don't listen to a lot of like pop or classic rock or anything like that.
Mhm.
And so I
It's
feel
just
like
film
I'm
music and
sort of
Beck.
above. I feel like I'm sort of above those
Yeah.
types of
Oh
genres.
wow.
But then
Okay.
at the same times, I feel like I feel far like less superior to
Mm.
classic
Oh,
music.
well, here we
It's
are. Well, I mean, I guess it's worth like there is like a tacit hierarchy that you're
yeah.
revealing just in what you just said, in what you consider like more socially valuable, I guess. Um,
I,
and it's interesting that like the more classical adjacent it gets, the more in your mind like superior it is in from a certain point of view. And I think a lot of society like mirrors that view, and it it gets really complicated to it gets really complicated to discuss because it's not just like it's not a linear trajectory of it's there are so many things that like for me like in my opinion there are some things that are better about some genres than others for me, or like
yeah.
there are some things
Definitely.
that are quote unquote more for the people and some things that are more quote unquote like elitist, and there are some things that are more exclusionary, but those things aren't all put in one camp. It's not like all of in every category classical is the most elitist and exclusionary and
Mhm.
unfair, and like there are different ways that in all the genres including film music where
Mm.
where some of the in some of the ways that it is more populist and more inviting to new listeners or people who aren't familiar with these instruments or whatever. In
Mhm.
some ways, it also um, is insidiously has an insidious impact on the music industry in other ways that are negative. So it's definitely not like
Yeah.
I don't like this narrative. You're not doing it, Ralph, but like I
Yeah.
don't like this narrative of when like classical stations try to be open minded by using film music and thinking like that's unilaterally a good move. And I don't like also when like the flip side of that happening, because it it is a not it's not a bad move, it's just not like a perfect move. There is no like perfect
Right.
circumstance
Yeah.
in which you play and then in which commercialized music is being you know, I don't know, whatever, capitalism.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. I know what you're saying though. Like
But
it's
music definitely like suffers the impact of it.
I mean, music,
Mhm.
and that's the same everywhere. Like, it
Yeah.
can be classical stations, it can be exclusive to films, soundtracks, and scores and things. It's like just in music in general. Like, it's so like segregated out almost. It's like people
Mhm.
like to find their lane. They find their genres that they like, and they're not willing to listen elsewhere. Like people, I mean, I DJ'd professionally for 10 years, and people would come up to me, oh, so what do you listen to? I'm like, literally everything. Like, if I
Yeah.
like it, I like it. I don't like there's not one particular thing. Like, I've got preferences, of course, but I'm not gonna blanket not listen to a genre or anything just because I've not liked one artist or one track from it before. It's that really it bugs me when people do that, because it's like
It
that's
doesn't bug
so
me.
really.
It-
Yeah. I think it's okay to be less adventurous in your own musical taste and to listen and to stick to a genre, as long as you can simultaneously hold the possibility that other genres have something that you just don't understand, and thus not
mhm.
like
Right.
needlessly like denigrate
I
other genres. But I think it's okay. Like some people are just naturally more adventurous, more artistically like experimental than others, and
sure.
some like I definitely am. But
Mm,
and sometimes I find myself like learning about what other people listen to, and I'm like, that's it. And then I'm like, wait, not everyone is like,
Yeah.
not everyone
Yeah.
is like me.
I think
It's
that's a really good way
fine.
of putting it.
But
That's
a lot of other people are way more adventurous in like culinary experiences and
Mhm.
and other things than I am, in which I just
Yeah.
stay in my lane because I don't really feel the
Yeah.
need to get out. Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
that's a really good way of putting it. And yeah, okay, that's much more completely and utterly like not like taking away my point, but it's just like it's yeah, I think that's a better way of putting it. It's like
It's the
if that's what
judgment is when it
if
becomes
that's
a
what you're
problem.
exactly, yeah, it's when
Yeah.
people start going, "Oh, this is shit. Why are you listening to this? That's crap." It's like don't tell me what I think is good or not. Like
Right.
I like this. Yeah. I think
If
that's
we're
the
all
point.
honest with ourselves, like we all will like, like we'll all like things from a certain point of our teenage years. Like we'll all
100%.
have these things that are not that we can try to explain with fancy words and why it's better and whatever, but like we can all admit that we all have things that we just don't understand what happened to make us just prefer that. And
yeah, well, there is plenty of things that I listen to and really enjoy that I know, like by and large, most people don't like. And if I look at it on an analytical level, I can go, it's probably pretty bad, but I love it. I really enjoy it.
it is
But
how I feel about a lot of Star Wars, where I'm like, I love
Sure.
this. And I'm like, and I'll read someone's critique of something and I'm like, yeah, that's true. I totally get that point.
I don't. Yeah,
Yep. That sounds logical. I still love it. I don't know. I can't help it.
Yeah. Yeah.
we haven't covered the two movies where that hits hardest for me.
Yeah.
But there, I mean, I think everyone can probably guess which two. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
those.
can't. What are they?
It's 8 and 9.
Can I guess?
Last
Yeah.
Jedi and
Okay.
Rise of
I
Skywalker.
and Rise of Skywalker. I love them both,
Me too.
but I completely understand
Me
why
too.
people don't like this one or that one or both.
Me too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it especially surprises me with Rise of Skywalker because intellectually, totally understand. I
100%.
loved it. And I
Yep.
was so hyped.
So much
when I
fun.
saw
Yeah.
it. Even though like I'm a total Last Jedi person too.
Yep.
Like
I think
For
Last
some
Jedi is
reason, they both-
potentially the best.
yeah,
like,
me too.
on any given day, I think it's potentially the best Star Wars movie. But
Mhm.
but it's like I think I had more fun in the moment with The Rise of Skywalker.
Interesting.
But it's I mean it jumps around. Watching the video for this made me go, God, I love the Phantom Menace.
I do. I unironically do love the Phantom Menace.
I
I'm
mean
getting
in
there.
the last sort of 5-10 years, I think I've it's grown on me every time I've seen more and more and more or revisited things.
For me, there's more time that has passed with the Phantom Menace than in my life when there wasn't Phantom Menace. And that 17,
yeah.
I was 22 when Phantom Menace came out.
Yeah, I was 12. Yeah.
That's a long time to wait for a Star Wars, and expectations and the hype machine with the trailers and the music videos and the toys and everything surrounding this movie was so big. It was setting me up for a letdown, and it did. It let me down. I still saw it 8 times in the theater because it was rare to be able to see Star Wars of any kind in a theater in 1999.
I've talked about it. I've talked about it before, but that year, probably entire full year in the build up to it, is one of the most special times of my life. Like it's hit for various different reasons. Now I can like 20 years
23 years
23 years 23 years removed from it now, and I can objectively look back and go, oh, it hits for me because that was the last year that I had with my dad. Like, and the build up to Star Wars was a big part of that for us. So there is that. But
and if I remember correctly, your dad didn't care for it.
He didn't get to see it. He didn't.
That's
get to see
right,
it.
because I forgot.
We got it a little bit later. So you guys got it at the end of May. My dad died at the beginning of June. We got it in July.
Oh my God.
Yep. So it was out there. It was out there in the world. And then I think maybe about a week or two after my dad died is when I first got a pirate copy of it. I had a VHS before it hit cinemas over here.
Do you think you'd like it?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I
was he a big
really
fan of
have.
the original trilogy?
Yeah, I loved him. Like
Yeah, it's
I got to
interesting.
see the special editions with him in theaters, which was a big special moment for both of us.
Yeah,
Because I mean, through him and my brother and sister, that was my introduction to Star Wars, and it was always there with us.
it's such a
And
different movie.
hunting for the Kenner toys
Oh,
was something that we did
man.
every weekend. Like me and my dad would go all over to toy fairs and stuff, hunting down Kenner like original toys. So it had been, even if he didn't love the films on the same level that I do now, he loved Star Wars because of that connection that we had through it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Did you enjoy it the first time you saw it?
I was 12 years old. I loved it. And then I think by the end of its theatrical run, so this is pre like internet and internet discourse. By the end of its theatrical run, I was kind of like, it's fine. There's
Already?
Yeah. I mean, I'd seen it, 8 or 9 times in theaters as well. So I'd seen it plenty. And I had a VHS copy at home, like a cheap pirate copy of
Question: how did you get to see it so many times?
Family members, various family members, friends of friends, anyone who was
Gotcha.
ever going, they'd either invite me along or I'd be like, should we go see Star Wars? And it was like,
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
will
Yeah,
you-
that happened.
Because I didn't see the first like episode 1 through 3 very many times in theaters. Well,
Mhm.
I guess I'm not that much of a repeat theater person, but also
I'm not really.
like on my own dime, I wouldn't have. It was hard, like unless
did.
someone was taking me, or unless
Yeah.
like I should have. I should have let friends' parents take me more. Why
So
didn't
I
they?
had a few of those,
Okay.
and also because of everything that was going on that summer with
Yeah.
us, I feel like there was a
You
lot
really
of
worked.
sympathy. There was a lot of sympathy. There
You
was a
worked
lot of
the
like,
network.
hey James, do you want to come to the movies with us? Absolutely, sure. Let's
That's
go see
really
Star
fun.
Wars.
So
I worked
in
it.
in
That's
in
hilarious.
1999, I was on my own living with roommates. Here's Anthony, who just left this, asking if it was Carson Daly. He was one of my roommates at the time. Actually,
wow.
sent
Oh,
me this
cool.
book. He sent me this book this week.
Amazing.
Oh.
That's
Yeah,
perfect.
cool.
I'll have to do a book review. But we were roommates, and we would work like night jobs. And so we'd be sitting around. I remember one day we were sitting around in the heat because our apartment didn't have air conditioning. It was really hot. Southern California summer. And it's just like, you want to go see Star Wars? It's matinee. It's like $5.
Oh, air
And
conditioning.
we just go. We
It's more
just go.
comfortable than being at home.
We just walk in with our own drinks and just sit there and watch, because we at least would get the consensus was the Obi-Wan lightsaber battle is cool,
Yeah.
and the pod race is cool.
Mhm.
And so, and then George packed the frame with so much aliens and stuff that like we would go back and just kind of look for like new things.
I was gonna say you could treat it like a Where's Waldo sort of thing. Like
yeah.
I love the visual language of the prequels. I just think it's so special, and I'm primed to just like the prequels. So I understand, objectively criticism, but especially as we get like more into the TV shows now, I just find myself appreciating the prequels even more.
yeah.
I feel
Even
the same way.
more.
Yeah.
I find the TV shows to have a very low rewatchable
Me too.
level to them.
I've only gone back to rewatch things when I've been sort of showing it to someone new for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to do it, though.
It is. Or when we've covered it for the show, like when we went back and we recovered Mando seasons 1 and 2. Like I rewatched them then. But that was the first time that I'd seen them since. No, you didn't even finish, did you?
I didn't even make it through it to rewatch to cover it on the show. But it's for me, it's pretty easy to remember Mandalorian because
TV.
Not to sound negative, but so little happens.
Yeah. TV has to be really, really special for me to ever rewatch, though. To be honest, like it has to be like a Lost or I mean, pretty much Lost is the one that I've done the most. And that's only maybe 3 or 4 times total all the way through.
I'm
Avatar.
in the middle.
Avatar is the only one actually.
I love Avatar.
Avatar and Korra, I just kind of have on a constant loop.
I need to watch that.
Yeah.
I find it hard to watch. Like, I think I would love to rewatch Lost with someone. It's just hard to rewatch. I find it hard to rewatch like lengthy
Yeah, it's a lot.
dramatic TV shows by myself without losing steam at some point. Like I could be like,
Right.
I'm going to do a rewatch, and I have tried to do a Lost rewatch, but then like, I get very busy. There's a lot of stuff to watch. It's hard to like remember to do it, and I'll fall off after a few episodes. It's kind of hard to keep the momentum.
I think
It's
now
118
when
episodes.
when I
a
don't
lot.
have someone new to watch it with for the first time, you find a good podcast. For me, watching Lost first time round, it was Ralph, it was Jay, it was Jack, it was the transmission, it was that entire community that existed. It was amazing. And it was like, and then my most recent rewatch, it was what did they call it? Storm of Spoilers. I think they just became The Storm. They used to be a Game of Thrones thing, and now they've got a show on the Ringer now. Like they're doing all sorts.
So it's funny. The Storm sounds also like a High Republic type of thing.
It really does. I mean, yeah, ride that storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the Storm.
Yeah. I could talk about High Republic for days. But the Storm podcast, they did a rewatch, and I sort of watched along with them, and that was how I rewatched Lost, and I really enjoyed it.
It's helpful for you to hear that, because I'm still like on Star Wars Music Minute trying to figure out my groove of like what and how I want to cover things, and I tend to be pretty shy about doing like, I don't know, episode. I don't know, like my thought is like, well, it's first of all, if things are past, and I don't know, who cares about who cares about like my take on every episode. Like I just don't really, I just don't understand who, but I have to think about also the people who might be rewatching things and want to have some opinions. Like I've never done like a reaction video or anything like that. Like I
don't do that.
I just don't really understand.
But what you're doing, like what you did on our episode, is you took, like, there wasn't really a whole lot of music in it. There was some at the beginning and some towards the end of the 5-minute chunk.
Oh, you mean for the film? Yeah. For solo.
Yeah, for solo, which you tackled flying and soaring music, which was a ton of fun. And then you introduced me or you showed me the introduction of Memphis Nest theme, which I didn't even know, even after watching that scene again. I didn't realize it was that theme until you played it. And so I think, it's what you're doing is good. I really enjoy it.
It is.
So
it's one of those things where you've taken the minute by minute format and made it even more specialized, and it's fantastic. It's what I think podcasts are the best format for.
Thank you. Well, to be clear, my podcast goes through the podcast goes through the music and sound, like the soundscapes of Star Wars films, 5 cinematic minutes at a time in chronological order, just like Star Wars Minute does. And Ralph was a recent guest, and I do like, I am totally on board with that format because it's so clearly defined. And I think also just for like, I think for, I don't know, posterity's sake, for like for some sort of like I want the music from all these films to be talked about, not just the greatest hits from the soundtrack, but in the context of the film. I want it all to be talked about. And it's really hard to find content that actually that actually will pay attention to the music in 100% of the film, rather than focusing on a few standouts or analyzing the score from a very specific point of view. Like what I think is like, I feel like on the podcast, we're going through it. Like I bring a sort of a musicological music performer, composer perspective, but it's from a nerd point. It's from like a Star Wars nerd point of view. It's not from the point of view of someone, and there are lots of amazing videos on YouTube of various people doing score reductions and whatever, coming from a like completely music point of view, where they come and drop in, analyze as part of the score, and drop out. And that's totally has its value, but it's not for like Star Wars fans necessarily.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
I think you strike a really great balance of it being accessible for people that don't have sort of any deep musical knowledge. And then, I mean, Ralph's pointing to himself. Like, I think we both come at this. We know music enough that we know what we like. We can sort of analyze it at a very, very basic level, but like not on a deep sort of deconstruction level that you have the ability to do, and you do when it's necessary. But it is, as you said, you're still coming at it with a fan's point of view. You're a Star Wars fan.
I think everyone can have the ability to deconstruct music from a like a pretty theoretical or even formal or even informal, but at least organized point of view, whether it's with a Western music theory background or not. And so that's kind of what I try to facilitate on the show, with having like both like super music oriented guests and also guests who are less confident in the music arena. But I know that if I pry them in the right ways, like they can actually peel the layers in maybe with different cross sections. And I think that's totally valid. I think like with this music video, like we can talk about like the music side of it, like the composition, but then also separate it into the various components. Like what actually is George doing in that recording booth? How's that process like? Why would that possibly be shown? What goes on when you're sitting on that part of the orchestra? And then like you all are helping me understand like the cultural impact of this even being out in the public in the way that it was on MTV, which frames it in like a pop world. It frames it for a whole new audience. It
really was
really interesting.
The fact that it's introduced on MTV as the London Symphony Orchestra conducted by John Williams, Duel of the Fates, and it's like you're never going to hear those words introducing a music video anywhere else, I don't think, unless it's Star Wars.
I have a question about this music video from you as far as the dialogue that we do hear. Do you think it completely distracts from the music, or do you think the clips they chose sort of fits musically with when they happen?
So I'm not sure if it's I think it's a mixture of everything, but the clips that they use in this a lot of them are clips that were used in trailers. They were on the Comtech chips from the action figures that came out in '99. So a lot of these lines of dialogue are like the sound bites that I think of when I think of the Phantom Menace. And there's some of them that I don't think were as heavily featured in other trailers, but they're in this. And I think maybe I just watched this video so many times that they're drilled into me, because when I hear them, I'm like, that's that
part
line.
Of the pacing.
That's the,
exactly. Yeah, I'm wondering if you just, instead of watching the video, just listen to the audio. Would the dialogue be distracting?
The only bit for me that I found distracting was the deleted scene, the Darth Maul deleted dialogue that is in this music video that is not in the film.
Yeah.
What is the dialogue?
It was the line about fear attracts the fearful. That we see like some snippets of Darth Maul, but I believe that was an extended version of his conversation on the balcony with Palpatine. I think, I can't remember. I'm sure that scene exists. I think it was on the DVD or something. But yeah, that sort of extended bit of dialogue that we get in this music video, I mean, I'm 99% sure that it's not in the film.
All right.
I like it. I don't think it's distracting.
I mean, it was only distracting for me the first time.
I mean the dialogue in general.
Yeah. No, I like it. I think it's good, and it plays at the right times throughout, and then it, like, when the music is sort of crescendoing, it drops out any dialogue and sound effects and stuff. It lets the music take center stage again.
So when the soundtrack album was released, it came out a week or two before the film.
Yeah.
Famously, all the track titles were spoilers.
right
Oh my
there.
God.
Scott D with Qui-Gon's Noble End.
Yeah. So I usually don't allow
I-
myself to listen to the soundtrack albums before seeing the movie.
I remember where I
but
was
this
when I
one-
read that. When I read Qui-Gon's Noble End
Oh,
on the
no.
back of a CD cover. I was in a Tesco's. I know it's the Tesco's that actually I go to more often than not because I've moved back to a vaguely similar area that I was at in '99.
I remember sort of leading up to watching this movie being like, oh, Qui-Gon's going to die because he's not the one that trains Anakin. It's Obi-Wan. And also like his character's not around for the trilogy. So I'm like, it's going to be like how Obi-Wan died in the first one. Qui-Gon's going to die in this first one. And so I kind of was suspecting it and it wasn't a big deal. But when I got the album, like I said, I don't listen to these albums before I watch the films. But I did get the album before it came out and I did pop it in and play. I would listen to Duel of the Fates because it had already been played for me. So I've come around on it though. I do like Duel of the Fates.
Great.
I found it interesting that it shows up in the Kenobi trailer.
Wait, I haven't seen the Kenobi trailer because I don't watch trailers.
Cool.
Okay, it's in it.
Unsullied.
Okay, so
but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
so
think it's a
say anything else.
spoiler.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a spoiler.
I
but
did hear.
it was
I already heard that
interesting.
it was in it. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I'm like, I feel like
It was the interesting part for me with that was seeing people's reactions because they were so hyped about that song and that bit of music being used. But I was like, I'm not surprised to see it in a trailer.
No, I don't really take trailer music seriously. No. It's
hype music.
Thing. Can I tell you my favorite bit of trailer music is in The Force Awakens. One of the second teaser trailer is
that the one with the Falcon flip.
I don't remember, but as soon as you hear Kylo Ren start speaking, they play the Han and Leia love theme. And I was like, oh, that's really sneaky that they used Han and Leia's love theme to score Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it until after I saw the movie what that meant.
Which is good. That's kind of like, again, because it's, with hindsight, it's a spoiler, but it's like, it's not if you don't know.
Yeah. So, I since then I've now have been afraid to watch trailers and pay attention to the music because I'm like, oh, they could tell me a character's relationship.
Every time there's a new trailer, I don't want to watch that, but I don't have the self-control to avoid a Star Wars trailer. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't. It's the same with TV shows for me. Like I didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett trailer until it came. I didn't watch the Bad Batch trailer before this show.
I think if we weren't doing this show, I could avoid the TV trailers. We cover them on here.
This is our excuse to watch them, though.
Yeah,
also.
I think I could avoid the TV trailers and go in with just like a teaser image or something like that. I think I'd be fine with that. A movie, I don't know if I could avoid it.
I mean, I'm probably not like being a responsible like Star Wars channel by opting out of certain things, but
you're doing fine. Like I think there's a market. Yeah, your
show is music based.
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like a lot of times, like I have a friend, Jorge, he will avoid every trailer as much as he can, but then once the movie's out and he watches it, he'll go back and see what the trailers were like.
Yeah.
So they'll always be there. It's not like back in 1999 on Phantom Menace when you had to spend 4 hours downloading a QuickTime file that was this big of the trailer.
Yep. The little postage stamp size video.
Yeah, I feel so old.
Yeah.
And do you guys have any more thoughts on the music video?
I love singing. I love getting to see the orchestra and the singers.
Yeah.
I feel
great.
It's a lot of that behind the scenes footage is stuff that we ended up seeing in the documentaries and stuff behind, like after the fact on the DVDs and things. But to see it cut together in this fashion was great. And I liked the intercutting with the movie and everything, but I think I would have liked to have seen more of the orchestra and of John Williams of conducting and everything.
Me too.
As a music video, I think that would have been more of that. Would have been great.
I think, yeah, I could do with more of that. I don't know. I like seeing both, but some scoring sessions, like I love when the musicians get, I don't want to say spotlight, but I just like when we are let more into the process of that.
Mhm.
And it's hard to describe the experience of being there while an orchestra is actually playing live, like actually playing
Yeah.
and singing. Like it's so, first of all, I don't miss like being super entrenched in the classical music world, but I do miss playing in orchestras because it is like an amazing instrument. The orchestra, if you consider the orchestra, like the orchestra is sort of like the super, what's it called? Like, I don't know, the super Power Ranger that has like
The,
all
the
the Power
Voltron,
Rangers
the Voltron
or something.
yeah,
Oh
Like
yeah.
that's how the
The
orchestra is
Megazord.
yeah.
as an instrument, and also a choir. And I don't know, just like that hearing those like 150 people or whatever, just like doing all the, like, it's like a feeling of all unified, playing the same thing, like dialed into the same thing. It's so electric to be in that experience.
At the end of May, I've got a best of John Williams tribute night, but with a full orchestra and everything that
Nice.
I can't wait for, because it's gonna be things like this, and it's gonna be across the board with just John Williams stuff. And yeah, I love seeing stuff like that.
I've been to a couple of concerts that have done film and television music. But it has been my lifelong dream to go to a scoring session. I started a podcast back in like 2007 just about film music. Just to be able to get into a scoring session hasn't happened. I have an open invitation.
I was gonna say, I feel like you're pretty close.
I have an open invitation to attend one, but the problem is the pandemic really mucked everything up.
Yeah.
And I am just chomping at the bit to go to one, and I'm pretty close.
You will. You will.
It's a lifelong dream, and I want to sit in that room. I want to sit in that room so bad. I've done, yeah, Jim, cue the music. That was my podcast. I went to a Lost concert in Ireland for my friend Jorge's wedding. It was his wedding. We were there, and Michael Giacchino happened to be there that same weekend to perform a couple concerts. One for us for his film music, which I haven't seen that concert, and I really wanted to do that. And the other one was for Lost, his Lost concert, which I've seen now 3 times. Ended up going to the Lost concert. So because Jorge was gonna, now that we found out Jorge was gonna be there at the same time, was gonna be part of that show. And even though I had seen it 2 times before, I still needed to ask for Kleenex because I just was like weeping. There's something about listening to orchestras live. Like, that's the thing is, say what you will about film music or whatever, or my love of film music. Nothing beats the live orchestra. It like, I can listen to 90 straight tracks in my car, but hearing the music live, it just has this energy. It just feels different. There's no, it hasn't been edited, it hasn't gone through recording, it hasn't been remastered or playing through my car speakers, which aren't probably the best, but it's unfiltered music. The sound is coming straight from the instruments into my ears, and it's awesome. I love it.
I think that goes for any live music, personally, for me. But when you have a full orchestra, it's, I don't know, there's something about the scale of that sort of ramps it up. I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I agree with you regarding live music in general.
Yeah, just live music in general. It's a special thing that I don't think I'll ever be able to get over. It's always great.
And as recordings get more and more perfect, the difference between the live sound and the recorded sound kind of seems, I don't know, the gap is kind of widening
It-
a
it-
little bit. Except
it makes it
I will
more
say that
of a
performers are
huge
also becoming more technically perfect. Like there's also increased
Yeah.
there's also like increased pressure to like be perfect technical players. So yeah, that's like a whole other topic.
I
But
think for a guy like me, I don't know what, like, I know strings and woodwinds and brass and stuff like that. When I listen to music, I just listen to the music. When you're watching an orchestra, you get to see the different parts going. You get to look and see what they're adding to each song.
it's really
And
helpful. It's helpful to have that
yeah,
visual
it
component.
is. It is. And maybe I just need to get out to see more concerts, but I find it fascinating. What you do is something that I can't comprehend. Like sitting in the orchestra and reading sheet music for you is probably second nature. For me, it's like rocket
hieroglyphics.
science.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I do, and it's a fascinating, and I just love watching the orchestra, because a lot of times what happens is as you're watching the orchestra, and let's say the violins aren't playing at that moment, watching their faces react to the music, I find entertaining. And seeing, just watching all the different parts moving at once, it's fascinating to me. So I'm gonna get in that scoring session soon.
You will.
And I'll report on that. I don't know if
Can't
it will
wait.
be I don't think it'll be a Star Wars score, so I don't know where I'll report that. But
Have you been to any period, like even a small film, or like would you
no.
even be willing to go to like a small, like what's your
There's-
level? What's your bar?
Well, here's the thing is, my whole thing was I want my first to be a composer that I really enjoy. There's one composer who I wouldn't want to go to at all,
Right.
even if it was offered the opportunity. I think you know who that is. It's not my cup of tea. A very popular person, and that's fine. I respect people who. Anyway, the person who told me that they would get to go to one of the scoring sessions is Michael Giacchino, who I adore his music. So chances are one of his scores would be the first ones I go to, and that would be I'd be over the moon.
That'd be so cool.
It makes me kick myself, like, again, time machine moment. If I knew what Ludwig Göransson was going to go on to score, I would have made a much bigger effort to befriend him when I met him, like years and years ago at a tiny Childish Gambino show where he was just playing, like, he would jump between violin and drums and guitar and everything else. I would have, because I met him, we hung out, we had a drink and everything, but I would have made a much bigger effort to befriend him and make that a lasting interaction rather than just one night of having a good time.
Yeah.
He plays violin.
He plays all sorts. When on old Gambino shows, he'd jump between everything. I think he was primarily playing guitar because he was his producer for all the early albums. So he'd primarily do guitar at the live shows, but whatever the track required, sort of thing. If there was violin, he'd jump on the violin and things. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's Xanthe's
specialty.
Yeah. But you play, but also piano. You do piano as well.
I play violin, piano, viola, guitar, and then like a lot of other things are just like once you know.
This is what happens with musicians. You're all so you're so talented. It really is stressful.
Well, once you know like certain skills on certain instruments can translate to other ones, and so like once you learn certain principles on one, like sometimes it can be faster to learn the similar principles on another. That's the thing.
I've always wished, like I showed, this is my nose flute. This is the only thing I played. It's essentially fancy whistling. I can't play it right now because I have a mustache which blocks the airway. But my wife has been learning ukulele during quarantine, and I think she's getting really good at it.
That's awesome.
And it makes me wish that I'd pick something up along the way, because I would love, like,
You
I've
can
been
pick up
listening
ukulele
to.
too.
Yeah.
We do have 2 of them in the house.
Well
There,
then,
there you go.
Okay, maybe I'll do it.
Yeah.
I picked up I have a ukulele, and you can pick up like a chord. You can pick up like a chord chart that has like a little cheat sheet of like the shapes
Mm.
of your fingers to do for certain chords. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
Do it.
Maybe.
It's
Yeah.
your challenge, Ralph.
All right. Anything else? We ready to get out? Xanthe, you want to do some plugs?
Oh yeah.
I did
You can listen to Star Wars Music Minute on any podcast platform, or you can watch the video versions on YouTube. I also do coverage with my friends James and Justin of the TV shows when they come out, episode by episode. Those are live streams, but I'm not sure if I want to do Kenobi yet. So yeah, I don't know about that. Just because it
Interesting.
matters, just because I'm so hyped for Kenobi that I don't want to
Oh,
be
you
part
don't
of the
want to make
internet
it work?
discourse. Well,
Sure.
and also I just don't want to get sucked into internet discourse. I might like just get offline. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I mean, we are always a safe place that is free of that sort of horribleness
Yeah.
when it happens. We always try and make our space and the small community that we have around live action is a happy, fun place.
Yeah, we're more about picking out the things we like as opposed to pointing out things that we don't care for.
Well, see, I'm like I'm like I consider myself sort of a bit of a music critic, or like an art critic, and not just. And I don't always just like
Right.
see the good in everything.
Mhm.
I like I think I also don't want to be part of like because the thing is, like, the opinions get so polarized, because when there's like
Yeah.
a really strong negative reaction, then like the really strong positive, like, no, we must protect this thing that could have just been neutral if you just left
Yeah.
it alone, like
Yeah.
comes out too. And like that
It's
interaction
a
like
lot.
bothers me so much, because I'm like, I don't want to be a stand for this thing that we wouldn't have cared about if there weren't haters about it.
There
Like,
can be good, there
Yeah.
can be
it just
bad
kind
in
of
a thing.
skews it, like
Yeah.
skews the important, it like skews everything in my mind, and then it's just like I can't think about like so much of the Book of Boba Fett. It's just like I can't even think clearly about it, because all I'm thinking about tweets, like I'm thinking about certain Twitter threads and stuff. I'm like, damn it.
That's why,
but anyway,
that's why I like recording early. So we
oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
We're able to record before most of the internet starts exploding.
That's a great
Yeah,
idea.
we usually
It
record
helps.
at 7:30 in the morning.
Oh,
So
It's 3:30 p.m. for me, so it's
okay, that's good.
It's before I go to work.
yeah.
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 But anyway, yeah, you can find Star Wars Music Minute, and I'm on all the social media platforms at Star Wars Music Minute or Star Wars Musmin on Twitter. And if you want to follow some of my more not necessarily Star Wars related
Star
stuff,
Wars.
I'm at Chrysanthe Tan. And I also have a Battle of the Heroes cover that you can listen to on Spotify or anywhere. It was the closing theme for Star Wars Minute during their Revenge of the Sith
That's
season.
right.
That one, yes, it's great.
Yeah.
And so it's
Violin. Speaking of
a
violin.
lot of exactly. It's a lot of me playing lots of violins stacked on top of each other and singing and piano. I like that piece. So yeah, you can check that out.
All right. Man, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It was a blast. I like talking about Star Wars music.
Me too.
I know. Our episode.
It was good.
We
talked about the Valacord. Yeah.
Oh. That's great. And I didn't even know what it looked like until that episode.
Wild,
so
right?
Yeah. That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I'm gonna pop in our info here.
Nice.
These liveactionstarwars.com takes you to our YouTube channel. You can also, which you're probably watching this here, if you're listening to this podcast, head over to liveactionstarwars.com and watch us as well. At least subscribe. Give us a subscribe.
Need to watch.
That's what we're looking for.
Just subscribe. Yeah.
Liveactionstarwars.com. Our website, liveactionsw.com, is where you can find all of our stuff in one spot, including stuff for merch and all that kind of fun stuff.
If you wear a live action Star Wars t-shirt to Celebration, Ralph will find you. He will give you a hug, and you will have a great time.
Or a high five if you're not into
it.
If he's not into
depending on what you want.
Yeah, and depending on any mandates and stuff going on in California and how comfortable everyone is feeling.
Right. And our socials at liveactionsw.
Yes.
And that is all we have.
Yeah. It's my pick in 2 weeks' time, though.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's weird. Going back to the 2-week format, we will have a data link episode next week.
Right.
But in 2 weeks' time, it was between two. I wanted to keep it Kenobi at least adjacent. We covered something from episode 1 today, so we've already done Attack of the Clones the movie. So I thought let's do some behind the scenes, and then I was thinking, oh, let's go with the music theme, keep that rolling. So we're going to go with Films Are Not Released, They Escape, which is the documentary about episode 2 about the sounds. It's sort of a Ben Burt focused documentary.
Oh.
So there's some music, there's some ADR, there's some sound effect stuff. It's a really good documentary. It's on Disney Plus as well, so you'll be able to find it under Attack of the Clones in the extras tab.
That's okay. I haven't seen that one in a while.
It's been a long time for me too. It was between
Yeah.
two. I had two to choose from, and I decided to keep it music orientated. And I think
Alright.
there's more chance of getting some Ewan McGregor in that one.
Right. Oh man, I'm excited. I thought you were gonna do what's the other episode 2 documentary for Pixels to
The pre-visualization one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was
man.
the
Okay,
other one
cool.
that I was considering.
Yeah,
But friends of the show over at Friends of the Force, they just sort of talked about that documentary quite heavily in their latest episode. So I thought, let's do something a little bit different.
And I was looking at our upcoming schedule leading to Kenobi, and I have a feeling I know what's coming up. I think our schedule is going to be
It's pretty Kenobi heavy.
obvious.
Are you going to talk about the books?
I might do some bonus episodes.
Yeah, that's something that's kind of come up this week that I don't think
Master
we've
and
announced, and
Apprentice, Kenobi.
So Xanthi, I don't really read. Like I read comic books, and I don't really read a lot of novels. James is a avid reader of Star Wars novels.
Me too.
And so
I'll read everything.
So much like me doing my lightsaber reviews, in the future, James is going to be doing some book reviews, some mini episodes. So
I did a big
now.
long. I mean, you can go find it on my Twitter feed, which is at J Hewlett. I did a long write up of Phase 1 of the High Republic.
Oh, I went on a very long live stream about Phase 1 of the High Republic.
Yeah, there you go. Ralph has already come up with the link. There you go. It's tinyletter.com/James Hewlett. You can find my High Republic write up there. And that just made me go, I really enjoyed doing this. And then Ralph was like, why don't you do bonus episodes about the books? So definitely going forward, I feel like every new release, every new Star Wars novel release, I'll do a bonus episode for. I might, depending on how much I get through. I'm just reading another book by Charles Soule at the moment. If I've got time in between that, finishing that, and
the comic you said you're reading now?
No, one of Charles Soule's sort of non-Star Wars.
Oh, non-Star Wars. Okay.
Yeah. Oracle. Yeah, really good book. But if I've got time after that, I might go back and reread Kenobi. I haven't read it since it was initially released. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And same with Master and Apprentice. I haven't read that since its first release. So I'll see. I might try and do one of those again. Probably Master and Apprentice actually, because Claudia Gray is great.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, I'm excited to watch them.
Yeah.
That way I can read the books.
That's it. I can fill you in on everything that happened in those.
All right. Perfect.
And at least Master and Apprentice is canon as well. So
right.
That would track.
All right.
But there will be bonus episodes that I will do in the future.
Nice.
Again, thanks for joining us. Thanks to everybody in the chat.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back in 1 week for a data link episode, and then 2 weeks. Movies don't get released; they escape. Movies
aren't released; they escape. Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
All right.
Bye.
Until then, everybody, don't give in to hate.
Celebrate the love.
Always.
Love it.